Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing tonight? Good to see you all here. Happy New Year. I think this is our first meeting of the year, isn't it? So much it seems like it's gone on in the last few days that it seems like we've already should be deep into it. All the projects and all the meetings and everything that we got away from during the holidays, so now we're back at it. So let's go ahead and call this meeting in order. Let the record reflect that we're all here present and accounted for. And it's the meeting of Wednesday, January 14th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. And tonight we will have the Legislative Christian Church Pastor Eric King, and also one of our good friends that works for us here at Santee do the invocation. And Eric, I can't say a whole lot about you tonight other than that I've known you a long time. You're a great guy, and because the technology's not quite working, so I don't have your bio to read off. You think after all these years I would just remember it, but I don't. So
you don't need all that.
No, we don't need all that.
Okay.
And so we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance led tonight by, let's see, who's
Chris
out
Gooden.
there? How about Bill Crane? You can do that tonight. The last guy I looked at. So please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Will you bow in prayer with me, please? Heavenly Father, we do come to you tonight with thanksgiving in our hearts to be a part of such a wonderful city. We thank you for the city of Santee. We thank you for our beloved city council members. We thank you for our diligent city staff, sheriff's department, fire department that keep Santee a clean, safe, and desirable place. We thank you tonight, Lord, that we have a city council that is humble enough to seek your presence in their business, to invite your wisdom into their city business. And so tonight, Lord, we do ask that all city business done is done decently and in order. It's done in a way that glorifies and honors you and protects and blesses our citizens. We thank you for this now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Bill. Thank you, Mr. King.
Welcome.
That takes us to our next presentation, and this will be from Republic Services, and it's an update regarding the Sycamore Canyon Landfill. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good evening, Mayor and council members, and Happy New Year. I'm here on behalf of Republic Services, who owns and operates the, oh, did we play this? Well, owns and operates Sycamore Landfill, and here to provide two key updates or on two key items, which is one, the Scout House or Way Station relocation project, and the future improvements to our Mass Boulevard and West Hills intersection, which serves as the main entrance to Sycamore Landfill. My name is Jesus Torres. I serve as the general manager for the San Diego Landfill Systems, which includes Sycamore Landfill. I worked for Republic Services for nearly 15 years, and 10 of those here in San Diego. Joining me tonight here are Risa Barron, who's our municipal manager. Also joining me too is Melissa Perez, who's our sustainability advisor, and not here tonight, but also wanted to make sure everybody knew who Chris Lockridge is. He's our operations manager, and he runs the day-to-day operations at Sycamore Landfill. Before we dive in here, I just want to share a little bit about our company values. They're up on the screen, and the best way to think of them is by adding "we are" in front of them. So we are safe, we're committed to serve, we're environmental responsible, we're driven, and we're human-centric. We're especially proud of that top value, the safety value. We feel we have a robust safety program, not only just for our sites here in San Diego, but across the entire company. So a little site history and background of Sycamore Landfill. It's opened and began operations under the county ownership back in the 1960s. In 1997, Allied, which has now became Republic Services, took ownership and operates after the county sold the landfill system. Since then, Sycamore Landfill has received roughly 42 million cubic yards of waste to date. However, the design capacity for that site is roughly 150 million cubic yards. And what that means is that Sycamore Landfill will be the primary disposal site for our region and, will serve for more decades to come. A little more background on it. Our facility is classified as a Class 3 landfill, which means we do not accept hazardous waste. We operate under multiple permits that clearly define the types of waste we can accept and outline the process of how we characterize the waste. That includes laboratory testing to certify that all incoming material is non-hazardous. Currently, we're permitted to take in 7,500 tons per day, but we average about 6,000 tons per day. As far as vehicle counts, we're permitted to take 1,100 vehicle per day, but we average about 600 vehicle per day. And why that matters is because, traffic counts, along with traffic studies, population growth, and other analysis is really what we use to develop the plans for the new Scout House and the Mass Boulevard intersection improvements. These upgrades are designed to accommodate the future growth while maintaining operational efficiency and safety. So let's jump right into it, on the waste station, or I like to call it Scout House project. So if you kind of hear me interchanging those terms, they mean the same thing. So the Scout House landfill is where we weigh all the incoming waste and outgoing vehicles. We track the waste volumes, the waste types, and originating jurisdictions where it's coming from. And really it ensures we're in compliance with our permit limits. We maintain detailed records of for our customers and also regulatory agencies, and kind of serves as the checkpoint to for all vehicles entering the facility there. Currently, the Scout House is located, and I hope this plays because technology is great. Currently, that's where that red dot there, right around there, is where the waste station is placed, and you can see it's right in front of the Mass Boulevard intersection. Well, we are moving that about a mile up the road into the landfill property, and what that's going to allow us to do is really queue traffic inside the landfill gates, and that'll alleviate some of the traffic nuisance that we can potentially see at high peak traffic volumes. So this next slide here is kind of another reference point of where the new Scout House relocation will be in reference to the old, and the intersection. So you see red dot number 1, that's where the current Scout House is located. And the yellow number 2 there is the intersection. But really on the right-hand side of this slide, the blue dot up ahead, that's where the new waste station will be. Like I mentioned, that's about a mile up the road, and really will help us queue traffic inside the gates, as I mentioned, and reduce some of the congestion at Mass Boulevard intersection. So you can see there, that's kind of the number 1. That's how they look now. These are some progress pictures of what it looks like now, and actually we're about 90 to 95% complete with this project. We hope to have it up and running operational February, March. And you can see some of the architectural design. We work closely with the Mission Trails Regional Park to mimic some of the architectural there, because the hope is that once we close there, this could be maybe donated back to them as maybe a ranger station or some sort of a building that they can use. But these are progress pictures, but like I mentioned, we're 95% complete. Matter of fact, we can actually do some test trials now. So that's the Scout House project. The other big infrastructure project we're working on now, and we're starting to really get involved with all the entities involved, Caltrans, Padre Dam, City of San Diego, and of course, City of Santee, is this Mass Boulevard entrance improvements. And, right now we're in the design and permitting phase. Special thanks to Minji, who I know was acknowledged at the last meeting for his commitment to the city of Santee, but he had significant contributions in how we designed this entrance improvements. And what you see on this slide here, the green highlight, those are the additional lanes that we plan on placing at this intersection. So just for quick reference, if you're leaving Santee on Mass Boulevard, now you'll see we're adding an additional lane to get onto the 52 on-ramp. So, and there'll be really three through lanes going onto the 52. We're adding a left-hand turning lane into the landfill and a right-hand turn onto West Hills Mission. But this is part of the infrastructure projects we committed when Republic Services took over the Sycamore landfill, and so like I said, we're in the design process now. We hope to hit construction in 2027. The goal there is to kind of work with the city, all these jurisdictions, and hopefully do it at night so we can alleviate the traffic. Now, one of the reasons why we decided to do the Scout House first and not the intersection first, if you can imagine where the Scout House sits now, and you have all that traffic going there, it create a kind of a nightmare. And those are some of the discussions we had with the city of Santee and kind of brought that to life when we sat there in the planning phase. A couple other just site highlights. A lot of people think of landfills as I'm not going to say it, the D word, but it really is more than that. It's an advanced engineering project. And up on the screen, just to highlight a couple things that we do there, we have a gas to energy plant where we harvest the gases that are coming out of the landfill through a series of pipes and wells, send it to some turbines, and we create about enough energy to power about 2,500 homes through that project. We also have a recovery aggregates facility, and that's kind of a sustainability project in its own, because if they weren't there, you would probably have two impacts at two different locations. And what we're able to do there is they excavate for future capacity of the landfill, and then all that rock and aggregate is sold off, to build projects here in the region. But I can talk about the landfill extensively because it's a passion. But what I like to do is I'd like to have an open invite to everybody on the council and the public as well. There's a lot to highlight there, and I always like to say we're not just the landfill. And there's multiple reasons why. Best time to come out is maybe in a couple months. We're having a new phase added to the landfill, and this is a liner project. We put a kind of a plastic at the bottom to protect groundwater and other environmental protections. But I really like people to come out there because you come 2 weeks after it's done and it's buried in a bunch of waste. So that's when we like to show it off. So please think about coming out, and we'd love to host anybody here on the tour. A couple just quick reminders as a community partner. One of the things that we do offer for the Santee residents is 2 free passes for disposal a year, and all they have to do is bring a current bill with a utility bill with a picture ID that matches. We've probably given 6,000 passes annually. I don't know the population of Santee, but I'm sure there's a little more out there than 6,000. But the people that do come really enjoy it and take advantage of it. Especially during the holidays when they can come out there. So just wanted to make sure that you all knew that that's still an option for Santee residents. And then up there I have the hours of operations for the public, 7 to 4:30 on Monday to Friday, and Saturday 7 to 3 p.m. We do open a little bit earlier for our commercial customers, and that's just they can get around the cities and clean up the cities. So make cities like Santee a great community. So that is my presentation. Here's my contact information, and if you guys have any questions, I'll try to answer them as best as I can.
Thanks a lot, Jesus. But I think the most important part of that whole thing was the 2 free trips to the landfill.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you because I've used my share over the years.
Yeah.
So, any questions or comments from the panel here?
Just real quick, why don't you talk about Neil again real quick?
Well, Ron, you know Neil probably, I've known Neil for 10 years. For me, he's been a mentor, but really hold Neil in a high esteem because not only is he, an advocate for Republic Services, but Neil is an advocate for our region, for the city of Santee, for the city of San Diego, for the county of San Diego. It's been my pleasure to work under his leadership. But he retired this year, at the end of this year. So I'm the guy that has to fill his big shoes. But a lot of this could not have been achieved with Neil and his vision when they took over the sites in '97. Looking at expanding the landfill, making the commitments to do some of these infrastructure projects because he really did see the big picture a couple years out, and really that's why we're here. So, yeah, big kudos to Neil.
Well, thank you. You did a great job tonight. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Laura?
Yes, thank you. Probably Councilmember Trotter and I have the most community feedback because we represent the west side of Santee. So our areas butt up against really traffic flows. And I'm glad you clarified. A lot of people think that Sycamore landfill is part of the city of Santee, but it's really part of the city of San Diego. So when we get complaints about the roads, people don't understand that they're in the city of San Diego, and I'm really delighted to see that there's more lanes coming and the traffic plan, so kudos to everybody involved, including Minji. And also West Hills Parkway, that where my constituents live, that's one where I hear a lot of feedback sometimes, depending upon what's happening inside the landfill. So kudos to you for moving it a mile in, definitely needed. When the lane is added on West Hills Parkway, does the city of San Diego also intend to do all the asphalt repair to West Hills Parkway at that time?
I think we would turn it over to them, so they would be, a commitment for them to repair it. They recently came out and did the repair to the landfill into that.
It made the news.
It made the news. So, and we were calling too, right?
Yeah.
I think it's for us. We're the landfill. Everybody thinks it's us, but
Right.
I think it's a tough intersection there because there's a lot of people involved, and so we'll get through some of that planning and permitting phases now, kind of work out some of those details, and we'll make sure to update the city of Santee as we're going through the process.
That'd be great. And then also, my other question is, when there is a notice of violation at the landfill, which I know it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
Yeah.
And what the people in Santee that get notified, they sometimes don't get notified until years later, and actually the problem is resolved. So can you talk about how that process happens?
So first off, we're probably one of the heaviest regulated
I know.
industries.
I'm on the Air Pollution Control Board.
There you
I
go.
know.
So, okay, perfect. So, we have a local enforcement agency that comes out and inspects us on a monthly basis, and they look at all our operations. That's public information, but us as an operator, we try to address that right then and there. None of the violations are kind of long-term. If they are, we usually develop a work plan, kind of return back into compliance, and we share that with the agencies as well. With the Air Board, it's kind of the same thing. They come out maybe once a year, look at really air emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. A lot of what they do is physically go out there and monitor every inch of the landfill. So we have a great record per the amount of area we have. But again, we try to address it right then and there. As far as the public notification, the Air Board, puts that on their website, I believe, and we're just in communication with them, trying to address it as fast as possible.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, if you and I think I do have a tour scheduled.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk more in depth about speeding
Sure.
that process up, and I'm happy to help.
Yeah, we'd love to kind of talk to you about
How it works.
How it works, yeah.
Okay, that's
Because
great.
there's a lot behind the scenes that happens with the expensive gas system that we have too. So,
Okay, thank
yeah.
you.
Anybody else? Great.
Thank you for your time and Happy New Year.
Thank you, ladies, for coming out also. I know that's a good moral support for him. You're welcome. All right, that takes us to our calendar. Are there any items to be added, deleted, or reordered on the consent calendar? Vice Mayor?
No.
Laura?
No.
Dustin?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
And council member?
No, sir.
City manager?
No.
City attorney?
No, sir.
Any speaker slips?
No, sir.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. That takes us to the non-agenda public comment period. And do we have any public comments?
We do, sir. We have 4 speakers. The first speaker is Peretta Javier.
Okay. Yes.
I am Purita Javier of District 9, City of San Diego, senior with existing medical condition and victim of ceramic kilns. Toxicity next door since 1984. We made or have been voicing our community concern, but for some reason, it has never been addressed since June 2021. The impact of our health and safety is real. We are hurt physically, emotionally, and financially as we find solution at county air pollution control district, city, and even at San Diego. To this advisory board, this is a subject respectfully recommended for study and result will help our legislative leadership for policy making in support of aging and one independent services. As their sick response from local authority, it appears that the problem has only been described.
That's Filipino English. Describe
as pointing finger for and silence. In our twilight years, this is an obstacle to a healthy longevity for us taxpayers, San Diegans. APCD having a specialty on clean air failed to identify.
The next speaker is going to be Cesar Javier.
Be careful. They are very strict here.
Yes.
We are here firstly to thank that privilege as a freeman. That's the very reason why the affection of Uncle Sam is engraved to our heart and mind. We are not here to change that ideology, that kind of governance we call representative democracy. It's in our heart and mind when we took oath as citizens in this great country we call now our home. We come here because we know that there's something wrong. Lesson we would like to share with our leadership here and the Santee residents. It must not happen here because this is a hazardous business allowed by lawful authorities. It has impacted us since 1984, and there were deaths in the proximate surroundings of this site. I do not know why science cannot be applied to determine this impact, the scientific poison, or the name of that poison, which we believe gases. When you burn silica or lead as part of this glaze, science says, CDC says, toxicity. And it will harm immediately the artist or the worker. What about the others proximate to the site? The owner says, Mr. Javier, where are the bees? Oh, I scratch my head. By golly, you're a graduate of... you do not know that smoke impacts the survivability of the bees? What about the birds? And what about my dear Purita and myself? I have been a substitute teacher and I have to stand up and say, excuse me, it's wrong. And you know the response of our letter? Mr. Javier, you go to the countryside for your clean air. The city is polluted. Everybody is polluting the city. By God, my God. And so we are here, sir, not to intervene in this process. We are inspired because, it goes through like a treatment plant. We are happy that we have Sir Minto to ensure that City of Santee has that circulation and mobility in good hands. And secondly, with the new arrival of our governing board, Ma'am Koval. You haven't seen us stood there because we are restrained by Dr. Campbell. We are perceived as violent.
Thank you.
San Diego. Sir, thank you, sir. We are inspired by your leadership. Ma'am, we are.
The next speaker is Jackie
This must not happen here.
Urschleit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have to go home now, sir.
Good night.
Have a wonderful evening.
See you next Friday.
Good
Welcome.
evening. I am.
Make sure you speak into the microphone
Oh,
for us,
sorry.
please. That's all right.
My name is Jackie Urschleit, and I live right across the street from the Santee Historical Barn, and that's on Magnolia. And when I drive past the property around the historical barn, I hope they don't cut down those lovely shade trees on that property, because I visualize it becoming a lovely park for the people. And I can visualize, I used to work for Armstrong Nurseries at one time as a landscape designer, and I visualize to the north of the barn, community gardens, possibly arts and crafts, and just places that people could come on the weekend and have their arts and crafts and foods and so forth. And then behind, maybe a dog park. And then to the south of the building, just a lovely park for people with picnic benches and a park for the children with splash ponds. And just using that property for something comforting and soothing for high density and traffic is that a peaceful place that people can come and just enjoy nature. And I don't know if it's too late to preserve that property or not. We have the Humane Society going in to the north of there. We have the women's prison behind. But this land could be developed into a lovely park. And so every time I drive past there, I visualize what it could be. And I hope I'm not too late to even approach this subject, because I think the property belongs to San Diego and not Santee. But I thought anything that is put around that historical barn is going to emphasize the historical barn also. And I wonder how many people in Santee that are new here even know that there's a historical barn that preserves our history in Santee. So it's just my observation that I hope I'm not too late to approach this subject. So that's all.
Great. Thank you for your input. Appreciate it.
Okay.
The final speaker is Carl Constantino.
Hi. A quick note, I wasn't even planning on speaking, but I missed Monday's meeting, and I watched it on video yesterday, and the lone gentleman that was here brought up a couple different things. One of them had to do with vegetation mitigation in the riverbed. And then in today's paper was a nice little article about Santee getting that grant. And both in the article and when you spoke on Monday, you noted that it's going to be a long, long time before we can do anything. And the only thing I really wanted to say is I don't think the public, especially and myself included, I don't think we realize what kind of BS bureaucracy that you guys have to go through to get something like that done. And I was just going to say, maybe put out something that says, this is what we got to go through in order to even get started on this project. So, it might ease the public's frustration on why it takes so long to get it done. And that was it.
Right. Just to set the record straight, that was last Wednesday's Park and Rec Committee meeting, I believe.
No, it was Monday's Compoc meeting.
We talked about it at Compoc.
Do you mind if I speak really?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just for clarification, so at Compoc, there was someone who had asked about the FEMA grant. Unfortunately, I think the reporter, I was commenting for context on my experience with the city of Poway.
I know.
The length of time it took for Poway to get the grant. So we're getting corrections to that article because the timeline here is a little bit differently. But I agree with you, and we're working on getting some information out, especially when we start the public outreach component of the grant.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
I just thought that might be helpful, not only to the public, but also for you guys. Yeah, I was at the
Thanks for
Spark.
reminding me when that was, too.
Yeah, I was at the Spark meeting, so I knew it wasn't them.
I was there, too, but for some reason, things get jumbled up.
Yeah, I can imagine.
As many meetings as I go to.
If I may,
I don't have to do that anymore.
add to, because I do live so close to the river bottom and my neighbors definitely are impacted by this. I've been working with all for a year maybe, with all the agencies that would be involved to find a way to fast track this. So it's not going to be 18 months from now. We've been working behind the scenes with all the agencies, including CHP, Caltrans, wildlife, all of them, and maybe Chief Wallace or Sandy could give an update about where we are in environmental.
Okay. Yeah, good evening. So we're working with a contracted firm to do the Phase 1 environmental assessment. They have completed this fall, they completed all the biological, cultural, and historical surveys that needed to be completed. We did have to work a little bit with the County of San Diego to get right of entry to survey their property and parcels. That's been completed. Several of the draft reports were received this week. And we have a schedule set for bringing the environmental review back to council this summer with a plan to be able to do the clearing this upcoming fall. So that's a rough timeline of what we're looking at is clearing beginning in the fall of 2026 and concluding approximately 1 year from now.
That's still basically 18 months.
Yeah, that's a bureaucracy you're talking about.
Yeah, no,
Well,
I know. That's kind of why I've commented on this many times, but it's kind of why my base comment is next time it's on fire, let it burn.
No, we don't want that. But the environmental review was going to take a lot longer, and so that's the part that staff was able to speed up. And yes, the actual, I mean, it's a lot of land to clear out, so that part, at least putting shovels on the ground will happen sooner than it was going to happen.
Okay.
Great.
Not soon enough, but
Thanks, Carl.
could be longer.
All right. That's it. Takes us to our continued business. Item number 10, which is a feasibility study for the construction of a fourth fire station in northeast Santee. Staff update on progress in site staffing and equipment procurement recommendation. Sandy? Just kidding.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. So tonight's presentation is presenting the findings of the feasibility study that was concluded for the Northeast Fire Station with recommendations for moving forward with an interim facility. Give a little bit of the history and timeline. So in March of 2023, a third-party consultant, AP Triton, conducted a community risk assessment and long-range master plan for the city of Santee. One of the items highlighted in that was the need for an additional fire station in Northeast Santee due to prolonged response times and coverage gaps in this quadrant of the city. Last February, the council appropriated $34,000 for Core Design Group, a firm that we have under a public service agreement, to do a feasibility study for us. In May, staff came to council with 5 city-owned properties in the general vicinity and presented staff recommendations for really narrowing that down to 2 facilities that we felt would adequately cover response times and, in our opinion, be worth further study. And then in August, we gave Core the authorization to proceed with that study. In between that time period of May and August, as you're aware, one of the sites we were looking at, Woodland Vista Park, which was transferred from the county of San Diego to the city in 1983, has a deed restriction that essentially requires the park be maintained as a park or open space. And so we were doing some work with the county to look at what would it mean to construct a fire station on part of that property? How would we work through that? We had some very positive conversations that led us to giving Core the authorization to go ahead and proceed. We did receive a little further information from the county this fall about their original development of the park back in 1972, where they used funding from the federal government and through HUD to develop the park. So those restrictions will carry over to us. We've been engaged in working with HUD on still what that process would look like, so that is ongoing at this time. This map has been shown here a few times, and this is what our 4-minute response coverage right now is within the city of Santee. And you'll see interim station 20 that opened in October is shown on this map. Another recommendation in that core report was the southwest coverage gap in Santee and addressing that. So that was done over the last year with the operations of interim station 20, co-located our public works yard, and you'll see the northeast still has significant coverage deficiencies. And then this is when we came with the recommendation for looking at Woodland Vista and City Hall. We believe both those sites, as you can see from the coverage they would provide, from a response location would adequately meet our needs and would significantly increase the service that we provide our citizens up here. So Core Design Group spent this fall doing an assessment of those 2 sites for us. And this map, so they looked at City Hall, they looked at Woodland Vista Park. And this map shows their rendering of how they believe a permanent, and the direction was show us how we could operate an interim fire station to bring service to the community right now, also having the ability to locate a permanent facility, at the same property. And so what you'll see on this map in the building shown in red is the footprint of the permanent future fire station location per their recommendation if it was located here at City Hall. And then the buildings in the white are the interim facilities, very similar to interim station 20 that could be used to put response in service now. So this is what City Hall would look like. Some of the considerations at City Hall is that the permanent facility would require demolition of both buildings 7 and 8. The driveway to the north where fire station egress would be is shared with the neighboring property to the north, the church and the preschool. And for that, Corps was recommending the signalization of Alphonse and Magnolia. I apologize for the type error in Magnolia. Oh, no, I think I'm good. Sorry about that. And then the interim fire station at this facility would occupy quite a bit of the central parking area. So backing up to that slide, you'll see that kind of the central area of City Hall parking lot would need to be used for the construction staging area and the interim facilities, and that it would have a significant impact at City Hall while all that was taking place. Moving to Woodland, this is what their renderings of a proposed facility at Woodland Vista Park would look like. Shown here is just the former ball field site, so that is approximately 1.2 acres of the 7-acre park site. These were the former ball fields that used to be operated there. They're now relatively open, flat land. The red buildings, again, are how the permanent facility would look if it was constructed here. The white buildings are the interim stations, interim facilities that could be used to bring service now. You'll see it kind of has a longer driveway and it's set back a little bit. That's just to put it out of where a permanent facility would be constructed. It's a little bit larger, so looking at some of the considerations, no demolitions required because it is a flat graded property. It does not have utilities on site, so utilities would need to be brought in from Kerrigan. We have worked a little bit with our engineering department, and if an interim facility was done there, but we chose not to do a permanent facility there, there are other needs at this park with improving the restrooms and improving some of our facilities, and the utilities brought in could be repurposed for that. So we don't believe it would be wasted. We believe there would be a future use regardless if a permanent facility was constructed there or not. It is a larger site. There's some increased design flexibility. It's not really shown well in the maps, but City Hall would be a 3-station permanent facility. Woodland Vista Park could be accommodated in a 2-station facility. And another thing the consultant noted, and if you look at this map, the egress out onto Kerrigan has good sight lines down both sides of Kerrigan for responding crews that would respond from the facility. So with this report received from Corps and the information provided, our staff recommendation would be we could operate an interim facility much quicker at Woodland Vista Park. It would address response times in northeastern Santee and bring that service to our citizens, we believe, much quicker. That would leave both Woodland Vista Park and City Hall available for consideration for a permanent facility. So, as the city moves forward, we don't need to make that decision at this point. And again, those infrastructure improvements at Woodland could be useful for other purposes if we don't ultimately operate a fire station there for the long term. Since we just did construct an interim fire station and we're operating it, we do have a pretty good idea what the costs would be. We're looking at approximately $862,000 for the design and environmental review if we did an interim fire station at Woodland Vista. We would propose doing a full environmental impact report. The operations yard facility was already used for heavy equipment and vehicles, and so a fire station was similar to uses already occurring, but both City Hall and Woodland Vista Park do have different property uses. So for that, we'd recommend an EIR be done. So there is more expense in the design phase. Construction is also a bit more at $3.8 million because utilities have to be brought on site. So it's more expensive than we just spent at Station 20. Both of those do include a 15% contingency being worked in, so that's not in the proposal that Corps provided. And then we estimate that the non-personnel operating costs would be approximately $87,000, and that is based on what we're budgeting and seeing with the operation of interim Station 20. Another thing that was presented in your staff report that I want to bring to you is staffing options and discussion. Now for how we could operate and staff an interim fire station in northeastern Santee. So 3 different options were considered and analyzed. One of those would be to add an additional Type 1 engine to the city. That adds 9 personnel. That's 3 personnel per shift to staff a Type 1 engine. It maintains the current staffing at all of our existing stations. And in addition, it would be the promotion of 3 fire captains and 6 fire engineers. Staffing Model 2 would add an additional Type 1 engine, but it would utilize the personnel off of Squad 4. So it only adds 3 new positions in the fire department, 1 per shift. It takes the 2-person Squad 4 and converts that into a Type 1 engine. The promotions would still be needed because Squad 4 is staffed with 2 firefighter paramedics, and it does remove Squad 4 from service in the city. And then Model 3 would be to relocate Engine 4 to an interim station. It would not create any new staff positions. It would not create the promotion of positions. That would leave Station 4 covered with Truck 4 and Squad 4 as the 2 units operating from that facility without a Type 1 engine at Fire Station 4. In October, we presented an update on achievements made in the Community Risk Assessment and Long Range Master Plan report from AP Triton. One of the things that report highlighted and looked at was our staffing in Santee per 1,000 resident population ratio, and a recommendation that we look to maintain averages in line with regional and national averages. So wanted to show how the different staffing options would impact our overall per capita staffing in Santee. If you remember, that report showed that in 2023, the national average was approximately 1.29 per 1,000 residents, at a Western region average of 1.05. The city of Santee at that time was at 0.93. Currently today, we're approximately 0.95. That's with the addition of the administrative battalion chief, and that's the levels we would stay at under staffing model 3. With staffing model 2 and the 3 new positions, we would go to a ratio of 1.00. And with staffing model 1 and the 9 positions, we would go to 1.10 in between that region and national average. And as you see from the footnote at the bottom, this is based on our 2023 population estimate of 60,037 residents. So it's assuming a constant population and not accounting for any future population increases. Moving on now, we'll look at the equipment needs for operating an interim fire station. So with both staffing model 1 and 2, we would operate 4 Type 1 engines, an increase in 1 from the 3 that we operate today. We do have the new Type 1 engine coming this February. We are refurbishing our oldest reserve engine starting in August, which we expect back by April of 2027. So next spring, we will have 2 reserve Type 1 fire engines. So we could put our newest reserve engine back into service as a frontline. That would put our 2014 engine back in frontline status. But we know from experience now that build times are still 3 to 4 years. If we were going to move forward with a new Type 1 engine, we would recommend that we look to order a new Type 1 engine so that we would minimize the amount of time we're putting that older engine back in frontline service. Additionally, we only fully outfit one of our reserve engines, so by putting an engine in service, that would put our outfitted reserve engine back in service. So we've identified about $350,000 in equipment needs that we would want to procure so that we would maintain a fully functional frontline reserve for increased flexibility in upstaffing during significant weather events and to minimize the time it takes during changeovers or if we have apparatus failure where we need to put a new rig in service. This chart shows a few other costs with the interim fire station and some comparisons across the staffing models. So looking at annual salary increases, if we were to look at 9 new additional employees, the promotion of 3 captains and 6 engineers from our current workforce, that does carry an annual salary increase of approximately $1.7 million. Hiring 3 new employees and the same promotions that would be needed has an annual salary increase of approximately $864,000. Again, if we don't bring on any additional staff and simply move an engine, there is no annual salary increase. As you're aware, with the current operating budget, we did continue what we had done as a pilot program with staffing Squad 4 and bringing on 6 new full-time EMTs so that we could put Squad 4 in service with 6 of our firefighter paramedics. Under any of these staffing models, we would need to continue and maintain that staffing. So that was a cost of $620,000 funded out of our EMS fund reserves this year. So that does need to be continued for any of the staffing models. Looking at the one-time engine procurement and equipment procurement, we just mentioned that's about a $1.5 million expense. One-time new firefighter expenses include the cost of fire academy, training, medical testing, personal protective equipment, uniforms, kind of all the costs to onboard new employees. Those are one-time expenses, but for 9 employees, it's a little over $220,000. For 3, it's about $76,000. So this chart is a comparison of what those costs would look like over the next couple of years to bring the station online and moving forward, considering the different staffing models. So our recommendation from staff would be that we plan to operate and open an interim Northeast Fire Station under staffing Model 2 with bringing on 3 new employees and staffing 4 Type 1 engines in the city. We would want to continue to monitor our call volumes, our unit hour utilizations, population growth with current projects that have been approved in the city, and consider a transition to staffing Model 1 with bringing Squad 4 back as necessitated. We have seen good benefit from the squad, so it has been something that's been proven to be valuable to the city. There are some grant opportunities we could pursue to assist with staffing increase in equipment procurement if this is the direction we go. And again, including that additional Type 1 engine in the equipment in future budget requests. Potential timeline to make these implementations. We are currently continuing, as I mentioned, working with the county and HUD. So prior to expending funds, we will make sure that issue is resolved. And we would request potentially design funds for environmental review. Environmental design could be requested at the mid-year budget appropriation, which is this February. If we're able to move forward this spring with that process, we believe we could be ready to start construction at the beginning of 2027 and anticipate a 1-year construction timeline to bring that fire station online. So at this point, our recommendation, again, this is an informational presentation. We are not requesting funds tonight, but we are looking for concurrence from the council with the staff recommendations presented, including proceeding with plans to move forward with an interim fire station at Woodland Vista, utilizing staffing Model 2 to operate and staff it once we bring it online, and making those equipment procurement as we discussed. And I'm available for any questions you may have.
No speaker slips, correct?
That is correct, sir. No speakers.
Okay. One thing that I did like about this, the whole presentation, is that we don't have to get locked into anything really, because except for a short timeline on making a decision on which model, because and that actually has to do with a fire station, because at any time between now and when it's built, we can implement any one of these models, be quite honest. So if we talk tonight about your recommendation is 2, and we say, no, let's hold off, let's go to 1, but go forward with the fire station. Well, in 6 months, we could look at it again and say, well, Model 2 is the right one for now. But by the time we get close to opening that up, we may have the ability to fund and staff a Model 3. So that's what I like about it, is so flexible that we don't have to get locked in and only stay there for the next 10 years or 20 years or whatever like we have in the past. So that I really like that. And I do think that we should probably take your recommendation. I like the idea of bringing on just a few more firefighters. I think that, Heather's the magician who can create the money. Am I giving you too much credit? No. So the bottom line is this is all about a team effort. And if we can get our team together to create a safer environment for the people who live in our community, that's what we should be doing. And so just to let you know that that's where I'm at. I like the recommendation, and maybe we start pushing in that direction. Anybody else? Rob?
Well, I mean, this is my district, and it's the most underserved district in all of Santee. So I think it's an absolute need and necessity to get some sort of help up here so that we can drive those times, the response times down. They're based on industry standards. I mean, they're kind of atrocious. I know you do everything you possibly can with what you have, but we need to give you the tools that you need in order to do your job the way you need to do your job. And this is one of them. We keep the big concern or question going back and forth was what location, are we looking at? And I for one think that the interim location would be Woodland Vista Park, barring any issues that we may have with the county that obligate us to do anything else or put in any homeless shelters or anything that like, I don't want any strings attached to it.
Don't get that started.
Well, it's happened before. So you want something done, well, you got to play our game, and I don't want any strings attached to that. But barring anything like that, I think that is the best location for the interim station, without a doubt. Once again, as you stated, even if that doesn't become the permanent station, which I still think City Hall is a better location for a permanent station based on just functionality and the potential of future growth in the city of Santee, with homes going north of the Heights right now, possibly, and then Fanita Ranch going in. That would give more coverage and on a more direct route to those. So I think I still think that's a superior long-term site location for us. But right now, having that temporary one there, interim one there, when that is done and we do move to another location, it does bring in the utilities needed in order to renovate the park the way that we want to do in the future as well. So it's kind of giving us those tools, forcing us to put those tools in there for future growth and benefit to another park that's kind of been just sitting there for a very long time without a lot of real update to it, meaningful update to it. So I think that's truly the best location for the interim station, and I support that. As far as the models go, I would agree that Model 2 is probably the most appropriate. I would love to be able to do Model 1. Frankly, I just don't know how we can sustain that. If there's a way that we can find to be able to do that at some time in the future, God bless it. More boots on the ground only serve. But I think Model 2 is probably what we need to be planning for. And so thank you for doing all the legwork on that. I know you've along with your predecessor, but you're the kind of one getting it across the finish line with our current interim station, and now here you are doing it with this one, and all the information that you provide. I love what you're doing so far.
Appreciate everybody's work on it.
Anything, Ron?
Yeah, real quick, have we identified any grants, or are we just kind of crossing our fingers and hoping?
There are grants that yes, we have looked at. The SAFER grant is a staffing grant that is available, that is a federally funded grant that is anticipated to come open in spring. It does not provide long-term funding, but it does provide 3 years of funding. There are a couple of other equipment grants coming forward, both locally and federally. Nothing that I believe would be able to purchase a Type 1 fire engine, but grants that I believe would make a significant dent into the $350,000 in equipment. So there are some of those grants active and that we know are coming in the spring.
We're actually going to apply for them now, or?
Yes, my recommendation would be it'd be discussion to have with city staff, and a little of that I think is to understand what the council's recommendation or desire is moving forward. That'll help the decisions in applying for the grants.
Well, I think that we'll be able to afford it in the long run. Money's drawing.
I think we have enough information for consensus, right? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Good job, Sandy. All right, that takes us to item number 11, which is new business. Consideration of a resolution canceling a regular meeting in the summer months of July or August 2026 and rescheduling the November 11th, 2026.
Early for the summer meeting to regular meeting during 22nd or August 12th as potential dates. Since the publication of the agenda, staff has communicated to the clerk's office that they would prefer, not just talked about, but earlier tonight. And then additionally this year, the November meeting falls on Veterans Day. Oh, forgot to move my slides to give you visuals. But Veterans Day is the 11th. That concludes my report.
What's the appetite here? You mean cancel the meeting on that day, not the actual day, right?
If we have that kind of power, then I got a whole other litany of things to ask for.
Let's keep going, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree, July 22nd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
And then how about the 18th? We're going to run into Padre Dam Day, but
The 18th. What?
The 18th
you're talking
works.
about
November.
Veterans Day.
That works for me. That's a long way to look, but yeah. I'll second your motion, Ron.
Are we voting on two separate motions, or are we going to have one?
We can just do all at
I think
one.
one to do.
About when the LMD items come forward, but in July will work for her.
All right, then.
Rob's, and then
I think,
know,
okay,
so now,
and does the second accept the amendment?
That, so. All right, please vote. And James will get that out to us. And make
Motion
sure,
carries unanimously.
and make sure that's posted clearly for those months.
Yes, sir.
Please. Okay. Geez, that takes us to another round of non-agenda public comment and 8 speaker slips.
No, sir.
All right, then.
Koval and myself attended the NECA Board of Directors gala and installation dinner the other night, and it was a really nice event, and they were happy that Santee showed up, so we appreciate doing that. I also it's becoming my 6-month ride along with the Sheriff's Department, where we go out, did 11 hours. You'd be surprised. It's when you know that you were doing patrols, you just get there. But yeah, so it started about 12:15, ended about 11:15 on that one. We ran into, there was a fire, which the fire department, kitchen fire basically, fire department did a great job in handling that. And then we ran into some, this is for Carl who left unfortunately, ran into some e-bikes, and those have been, it's amazing how much problems those have been, and especially around Town Center Park. We did run into about 8 or 9 of them, and they're playing chicken basically and playing whack-a-mole. We did, overall that night, we did pick up about 3, I think of it. We stopped 3 or 4, and gave out 3 tickets. But basically, we're trying to slow. It's getting. We're just trying to get under control. Is what we're trying to do. So I just want the public to know that we are working on it. Sheriffs are going to solve it.
yeah, I have two updates, and it's funny. I had no idea people would talk about Air Pollution Control Board today, and one of my updates is about the Air Pollution Control Board because I've been on it for about almost a year now. So when I joined in the beginning of last year, and for people who don't know, I'm the representative for District 2, so that's Joel Anderson's district. And at I think my second meeting, I was nominated to be the military liaison, and then the Air District Board liaison, and that's actually state law. So earlier this year, the legislature passed Assembly Bill 652, and there was 2 practical changes that were made. First, it allows every appointing authority to name an alternate. Right now, I serve, and if I miss a meeting, I don't have an alternate, and same for everybody. And it's a highly technical board, and so it's really hard, and it's hard sometimes to get a quorum, so it's just really difficult not having an alternate. Secondly, it gives the board more flexibility to select its military liaison. So it's no longer limited to only a county supervisor, and I'm also calling this the Koval clause. These changes were put into law for the simple reason that the board needs consistent participation and strong regional representation to do its job effectively. For those that don't know, the Air Basin is very unique. We oversee 18 incorporated cities, major military installation, the amphibious base, Marine Corps Air Station Miramar, Pendleton, the southern portion, Naval Base Point Loma, the Coast Guard sector of San Diego, Naval Outlying Landing Field in Imperial Beach, and we have local, state, and federal and international boundaries. So thank you to Assemblymember Alvarez for making those changes. This makes us run more efficiently, and I look forward to put out. It was really just an invitation to our community. I've started a flag initiative in the city of Santee, launching a community effort to add 250 more American flags to homes and businesses around Santee before July 4th of this year. It's a simple way for all of us, longtime flag flyers and first-timers alike, to show our community pride and help our city shine red, white, and blue. And get a flag if you need one. My goal is to make it easy for anyone who wants to join in. So for more information, please check out my page or reach out to me directly.
Everybody, Happy New Year.
Yes, sir. I am super happy that we finally have our Heartland Fire Training Authority training structure up and running, the cutting of it. I've been on that committee since I got elected, so 15 years, 16 years now. And I will tell you that it's been something that we're gonna do since I got on there. It's been one issue after another with raising the funds, and we had the funds, then it was getting someone to, we were originally going to just try and retrofit the tower that was already there, and then they decided that it's got too many issues, so we abandoned that, and we started going towards something that we thought was gonna be modular, and found a really cool product, and then we couldn't find anybody that would put it together because they didn't want the liability. So that died, and now fire authority in the county is going to be envious of. It is quite sensational. The way it's a Lego system, basically, the way that they can restructure it and move things around within it, the different aspects that they can utilize with training within it, the way the windows and doors and floors open up to simulate different situations. There's exterior stairs, there's interior stairs. They can control smoke direction, ventilation, intensity. They can control heat intensity inside of there. Can add another module to it. Really, and made more fire retardant, obviously. But they are obviously super, super strong. There's four levels.
On. So
It will. The great thing is, if something happened, do it in a day. So really neat stuff. I'm so happy that it's finally there. I can't wait for the first burn inside there. I'm gonna go check that out. Right. And then
Somebody will tell you where to go.
yeah, they usually do. Councilmember Trotter and I were actually also on Monday. We went to a joint meeting with the school board. So add information that was on safer, stronger schools. So how can we all collaborate together with our schools? And this is for the Santee School District, so it's K through 8, and a lot of just trying to come up with more ideas on what's acceptable. It was kind of neat at a table that I sat at to have just different perspectives. Growing up in LA, where I did, fences were the norm. Fences doesn't make any sense not to have them to me. But to hear a couple of other people saying that they felt that it was less inclusive and people didn't feel as safe because of all the fences and gates, and I would argue the opposite. But it is, it's just it's a different world, and we've got to be cognizant of that. And so, what other things can we utilize to keep everybody safe? I didn't realize that they have that teachers have ID cards that they carry with them that have buttons on them. And if they hit them 3 times, then that's something's going on in their little area. If they punch it 8 times in a row, then it's a shutdown of the school, and law enforcement's notified, fire's notified, like there's something big going down and it needs to be done now. Had no idea that they have this kind of technology on them. They say, listening to one of those board members at times, and you got to deal with that. But I would rather have somebody, have a false alarm and everything be okay than the other way around and not have discussion. I hope they got something out of it. I hope they took copious notes so across the board, and then they were doing a whole day retreat the next day. So they were going to be doing a lot more in that vein. So it was neat to be. I appreciate the fact that they did to collaborate on something that's happening in our community. And I think it's great when we do those things together. Dr. Johnson used to do that stuff. They know we've got their back and anything that we can do and vice versa. And then the last thing I just want to throw out there is kind of a feel-good moment. Councilmember Trotter and I just happened to go to In-N-Out last night. And
Just happened to
go to In-N-Out last night and ran into this group of kids there. They were there doing Bible study. And I mean, it was probably 10 o'clock? 10:30? Yeah, so we walk in as a big group of young kids, high school kids, but a real big group. And I was like, oh boy, what are we walking into here? And just sitting back and I'm observing and noticed it was different. It was a different vibe there altogether. It was a different vibe. Super positive. Everybody was smiling. Everybody, but not being obnoxious. They weren't being on. So I had to just get up and go over and ask them, like, what's all right? What's going on? What are you kids all doing here right now? And then they told us about, where they go to church and that they're there, and they feel safe. Santee is where they always come together each week to do this, and
Every Tuesday.
every Tuesday, yeah, and they do it in Santee because that's where they feel that they can do this without anybody judging or anything like that. And I was just, we're just having a good time being with each other and talking about God. And it was really neat that we'd have that in our community. And so I just wanted to thank them for being there, and hopefully they keep going in and out there and keep that business happy and keep them doing the right things in the right places.
So, and you didn't consider calling the sheriff to report the curfew violations?
Not even for a second.
There was actually college-age kids there.
Almost like I set that up for you, huh? 79 was passed by California legislature and had to do with affordable housing and being built around or near transit stops, and not very many municipalities or counties were on board with that, so they lobbied. The author of that bill was Scott Wiener, and he made a lot of concessions. Affordable housing projects no longer fell within that jurisdiction. So he did a great job at, helping everybody out, and everybody else said, well, okay, thank you very much for doing it for us, but you're always rewarded for being thankful and helpful. And this year he's introduced Senate Bill 677 that puts everything back into that Senate Bill 79 that was taken out to appease counties and municipalities, so that regardless of where that bus stop is or that trolley stop is, you're not even having to get a permit or authorization from the jurisdiction that has authority over that. So successful would be because of the supermajority of the legislature that we have now. So we're going to keep an eye on that. I don't know if anybody had heard about that yet. So anyhow, that's just one more thing that.
Homelessness, he'll veto that.
Yeah. Yeah, the things that harm cities because members want us to plan them is many times harmed by some of these very restrictive. We are going to keep a close eye on that because they have nothing better to do than watch out for these crazy bills. So that's all I really have.
Down here we were home free, but no.
So, I brought. Have you been here long enough to have a report?
Well, actually, I have a lot, but I don't know if I have a lot to report. But since Carl brought up the article about the FEMA and the incorrect information, I did get notified from the reporter, since we've been in this meeting, that she's updated the story with the correct Santee information. So hopefully that also makes its way to Facebook, because I saw the incorrect story got posted earlier today. That's
Great.
all I have.
All right. Counselor.
No report, Mayor.
No report? Nothing on like new laws or anything?
That's coming up, but next meeting or the meeting after that.
He's trying to keep it positive.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Get
great.
in and out.
All right, then. We do not have a closed session tonight, and I promise you we get out of here by 8 o'clock, and it's actually before 8 o'clock, right? So anybody win the over or under on that? Okay, well, then I'm going to say meeting adjourned.